All right, big week. One of the reasons it's a big week is that this Friday is the last day you can drop any of your classes and receive a W. After this Friday, your instructors will have no option other than to assign you a letter grade, A through F, for any class you remain enrolled in. So if you've got a class you're tanking, or you've got a class that's causing you to do poorly in all of your other classes, or if you've stopped attending a class, drop that class. Don't be like me. I stopped attending a class at about week 3 or 4 when I was an undergraduate, and I thought, yeah, the instructor will drop me. And guess who didn't get dropped? Guess who has had an F on his transcript following him around for his entire academic career? Don't be like me. Drop a class if you have stopped attending it. All right. The other reason this is a big week for us is we've got argument construction number 2 to work on. And thought primer number 16 is going to help us get ready to do that assignment. Thought primer number 16 is the only thought primer you have to do this week. And its sole focus is argument construction number 2 and doing some sort of housekeeping related to thought primer. So there's no problems related out of your book that you have to work on for this thought primer. It's due on Thursday, but I strongly recommend that you get into thought primer number 16 sooner rather than later so that you start to get a sense of what you're facing with argument construction number 2 and how to budget your time and life during the week so that you can get this assignment completed successfully. Now, you'll notice that in thought primer number 16, the first thing I ask you to do is to download a couple of documents, and you want to make sure you do not skip those steps. The first document you're being asked to download is called How to Construct a Standard Form Categorical Syllogism in Response to a Question. That's a super important document for you to have because it lays out the steps that you should work through in order to create these syllogisms, okay? So the argument construction number 2 is going to be asking you to create categorical syllogisms that respond to questions, and having that handy guide, that step-by-step guide, will really make life much easier for you as you work on argument construction number 2. The other document it's going to ask you to download is the argument construction number 2 prompt, and you can do that by clicking on that link right here. I strongly recommend that you print out a copy of argument construction number 2, the prompt, so that you can have it on hand as you watch this short video here where I go over this assignment and explain to you what you want to make sure that you're doing for each one of the problems and what you want to make sure you avoid. And that way, if you have your document right beside you as you're watching that video, you can take notes to remind yourself, oh yeah, don't do that. He said people make this mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake. All right. After you've done that and you feel like you've got a pretty good sense of what this argument construction number 2 is all about, you can come down here to part 2 of the thought primer, and you can see it gives you a link to go review the rubric, the scoring rubric for argument construction number 2, and it presents to you a question, and the question is this: what questions or concerns do you have about argument construction number 2? Your response to that question is going to be one of the things that you include with your thought primer number 16 submission. Okay, so remember, thought primer number 16 is a different assignment than argument construction number 2. Thought primer number 16 is asking you what questions you have about argument construction number 2. If there's none, you just write none. If you have questions, write those questions so that I can answer them. And then when you've completed that, you can come down here to part 3, and you can see there's a couple other questions that I want you to answer, and it's related to thought primers. Do you have any that don't yet have full credit? What's your plan for getting full credit on these missing thought primers? And you can answer those questions. And again, that is what you'll submit to me, your responses to those questions. That's what you're going to submit here on thought primer number 16 to get credit for that assignment. Do not submit argument construction number 2 via the thought primer number 16 assignment page. You want to submit argument construction number 2 via the the argument construction number 2 assignment page. Okay, so thought primer 16 are these questions about your thought primers and questions that you have about the argument construction assignment, and the argument construction number 2 has its own separate assignment page that you can use to submit your argument construction from, and you can see that there is a link to that assignment page right here. All right, so if things come up, you got questions, you need help, just let me know, and we'll make sure that we get you through everything successfully. Have a great week.